Hey, what up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach with the upcoming Money in the Bank pay-per-view. I thought I would go out of my way to make a top 5 list. I've been doing this for the upcoming latest pay-per-views lately, trying to find a way to do this. Always fun to count down top 5 moments in WWE history. Always fun to watch WWE Countdown on the WWE Network as well. In this one, I'll be counting down the top 5 Money in the Bank matches. They've been doing this for a long time. There's a lot of matches to pull through and pick through, and I want to know that... I won't be picking WrestleMania 26 as my favorite Money in the Bank. I know a lot of people will be thinking that because of Jack Swagger being the winner, WrestleMania 26 being one of my favorite WrestleManias. But there were just too many dudes in that match, 10 guys to be, and there was just so many guys just laying around outside of the ring. The action that was inside of the ring was awesome, but I'll always remember as I was watching that match, just watching guys laying on the outside, acting like they were selling, but had their head up, just watching the match to make sure that they didn't miss their spot to get up there. And plus, my man Jack just couldn't get up there and get that Money in the Bank briefcase off of that damn, pulley thing that they used. He couldn't get the thing down, and it just took forever to the point where I thought somebody was going to be doing a run-in. But here we are with the top 5 list. Number 5, Money in the Bank, was a great one. 2011, Alberto Del Rio was able to capture the... I can't remember. I think this was the Monday Night Raw Money in the Bank, the red one that he was going after. He did cash in on CM Punk after the big main events at SummerSlam 2011. He was able to capitalize and move on. But honestly, looking over this, I can remember at one point thinking that almost everyone in this match, besides for Jack Swagger, had a big spot to win, and everybody was going to go out and prove themselves. The Miz was looking to do a back-to-back Money in the Bank briefcase, much like CM Punk had done at WrestleMania 24 and WrestleMania 25. Evan Bourne was coming on, maybe 2010 was his biggest year, but 2011, he could have really broke through. Everybody's been looking for Kofi Kingston to break through. Alex Riley, man, that was one guy that I put a lot of chips into thinking he was going to become a big star. R-Truth was looking to sort of make up for that main event against John Cena, maybe get another chance at moving up there. A lot of people thought as a heel he was very entertaining, and maybe he might get another shot. But Alberto Del Rio, since coming on in late 2010, really had a big sort of a grudge against Rey Mysterio that went all the way down to the end of this. Maybe the spot at the end got a little bit messed up with the ladder got tipped over and he had to run up another ladder and grab the briefcase. But him sort of ripping off Rey Mysterio's mask, which stopped him from getting the Money in the Bank briefcase, was a very, very awesome spot to put into this match to really put it over. There was a spot in there where The Miz climbed all the way up to the top of the briefcase. He fell straight down, and it looked like he had sort of hyperextended or blew out his knee. He got taken to the back for medical reasons, and then he made the save late in the match, running back out, hobbling down there on his knees. I could have swore I thought that was going to be The Miz's face turn. That we'd been looking for a really, really long time. It ended up not being what I thought it was. I don't know if they just blew it off or just went in another direction. But now that he's finally done that face turn, and now that I guess he is sort of heel again, good. I don't know why I was waiting for that for so long. Just let the guy be an asshole and just be what it is. Del Rio was able to capture the Money in the Bank at the end of this one. Money in the Bank 2011. What a great one. And that's going to be number 5, moving on to number 4. Number 4 on the list is from the 2010 Money in the Bank. There was a lot of, bloodthirsty veterans that were inside of this group. We had seen Randy Orton, Chris Jericho, and Edge, all past former champions, put into this mix trying to get back up to the top. And then added to that mix was a whole ton of, guys that were just trying to get there. Miz, Evan Bourne, John Morrison, Ted DiBiase, all of those guys I would put on my list as future champions. Evan Bourne in 2010 was probably as high as he's ever been on the list. Of course, in 2010, during the summer before Nexus started around this time, he pinned Sheamus on back-to-back episodes of Monday Night Raw, who was the champion at that time. That's a real big deal, even though they were in tag team matches. Anytime you pin the champion, people are going to notice. I thought that The Miz was the perfect guy to put there. I thought that a year before at the Bash 09, I thought that was going to be Miz's coming out party. He had the... I guess you could say series of matches with John Cena, but at the Bash 09, it ended up just being a burial of The Miz. From there, he never really broke ground again. But The Miz being able to climb up there, grab the Money in the Bank briefcase, and why he's up there, have a big old emotional tear and be able to come down, have to regain his composure and give some sort of a heel promo that he's better than everybody in that arena was awesome. So many things John Morrison was able to do to steal the show. I believe this is one of the first Money in the Banks that didn't involve Shelton Benjamin, and he really did go out there and steal the show in all the ones he was in. And because of his release, he wasn't able to be there at this one, and he wasn't really missed. He's one of those guys, when you watch those early ones, I think going all the way up until WrestleMania 26 being his last one, he was always that stand-up guy that seemed like he was going to get his break sooner than later. Number 3 on the list comes from WrestleMania 23, and this was a very crazy Money in the Bank match. They exceeded the past few ones. I thought that it was a very, very excellent worked match. Mr. Kennedy was able to climb up there and grab the Money in the Bank briefcase, which I thought was going to slingshot him up to the top of the WWE. Of course, everybody knows the story now with Mr. Kennedy getting injured days after they told him that if he got to Monday Night Raw, he was going to cash in on The Undertaker and become the new champion. Basically, because of his injury, he had to have a match where he handed the briefcase over to Edge to go on to do it. But these guys beat the hell out of each other. You had proven guys in there like Randy Orton that had been champion before. Randy Orton got his spot where he just went crazy, just handing out RKOs to everyone. And then you had a whole bunch of guys that were just hungry to get up to the top. One of the biggest spots that came out of this match, I hated when I watched this match live. Of course, that's the match that's pictured above, which was Jeff Hardy climbing to the top of the ladder and putting Edge through a ladder on the outside, basically having both guys taken out of the match and taken to the back. This is another spot that I hated that Kofi Kingston did against Drew McIntyre. If you have a chance to climb up to the top of the ladder, it means you have a good chance of grabbing the Money in the Bank briefcase, which would end the match and slingshot your career to the top of the WWE, having a shot against the champion at any time you need. It does not make sense to me. I know that the Hardys go back to 2005. Matt Hardy is on the outside, rooting his brother on as he goes through the table, then just looking at the carnage and just disbelief. But even though you hate this guy so bad and you love to hurt this guy by putting him through the ladder on the outside, that's hung from the mat over to the ring boards that separate the fans, the barriers that keep the fans from getting into the ring. This ain't PWG here, but it's just crazy to me that they would take a spot like this. Everybody, put up, and I thought that like King Booker and Finlay were a little bit of weird names they put in there, but they were able to add to the match. CM Punk having his, I think this is his rookie WrestleMania experience. He was able to get in there. Of course, the next year he would be able to win the big one, so you can see that he was on the uprise. But number 3 on the list, WrestleMania 23. Number 2 on the list comes from the Money in the Bank match at WrestleMania 21. This was an awesome match. Of course, they laid the groundwork with this on Monday Night Raw with Chris Jericho pitching the idea to Eric Bischoff, and I'm not 100% sure if they're just running with that as the real story. On the Chris Jericho podcast, he sort of ran with it, saying that he was the guy that came up with the match. And of course, everybody knows that Edge would go on to win, which would make him able to cash in against John Cena after the Elimination Chamber match way later that year, I believe in December. But, the story's been out and the story's been told. Edge didn't even want to be a part of this match. He had done TLC matches. He'd been through this 1,000 times. And if this was going to take to get him on the WrestleMania card, he just didn't want to be a part of it. He said that he would wait until WrestleMania next year because he was held off at this show and he wasn't on the year before due to injury. He just knew that he was going to blow it out of the park at WrestleMania 22. It was actually the guys that came to Edge and was like, don't be an idiot. You're going to win this match. You're going to want to be in here. You're going to want to be a part of it. All of these guys want to steal the show because it's going to make their stock be worth more. Of course, Chris Jericho had main evented WrestleMania 18. Chris Benoit had main evented WrestleMania 20. And these guys didn't want to let their spot slide. And at the same point, you had Shelton Benjamin, you had Christian, you had Kane. All of these guys wanted to make sure that they had their stock rise in the upcoming year to give them a better shot to be in a better match at the next year's WrestleMania. They were going to go out there and do everything. This was in the number 2 slot at the WrestleMania that year, and I think that especially with Undertaker going on after, this might have been looked at as sort of like the death spot, but this really, gets everybody pumped up. It's hard not to get pumped up when you have guys, hitting each other with ladders, climbing up and doing spots, falling off the top of the ladders. This is always going to get you pumped up, and I think this was a great way to establish a way to get, 6 guys onto the card. 6 guys in the match is the perfect number of people, bumping and working together and everything like that. This was a great group of guys to get in there. I mean, like I said earlier, you had the established veterans. You had the guys, just trying to get to the top. You had a guy like Christian, who basically had Tyson Tomko, who even got to get in the ring at some times because Christian was sort of like the guy who had to have the bodyguard, do the work for him because he was that, snobby heel that made you want to hate him more. A great match. I don't think there's really any spots that puts it over the top. It's just, it's just the first one, so it's always going to be special. They didn't tell us a lot going into what this match was going to be, almost like, the Elimination Chamber when it debuted. It was almost like they didn't know what to tell us on Raw or SmackDown because they didn't know what this match was going to be until the guys actually worked it out in the ring and figured it out, and this became, a WrestleMania tradition until it was, such a much popular match that they moved it to its own pay-per-view and moved it from having 1 Money in the Bank match on a pay-per-view to 2, where you would have 1 for the SmackDown World Heavyweight Championship and you'd have 1 for the Monday Night Raw World Title. So it's all got to start somewhere, and at number 2, the WrestleMania 21 match won by Edge sits. Good God. Number 1 on the list is WrestleMania 24. WrestleMania 24, to me, honestly, had a really cool feel to it. The outdoor arena. I think this is the first time they had done it since WrestleMania 9 with Las Vegas. And the Money in the Bank match, to me, was a little weird. I know everybody knows during the pre-show and during the first match there was a light rain that fell over the Orlando crowd, and just to me, having the Money in the Bank match in the number 2 slot, with the wet surfaces out there. I know that they go out there and they mopped up the wetness as much as they could, but it is what it is. These guys are hitting each other with everything in the world. They're trying to climb ladders to get up to the top of the ring, and wet steps just equal a bad situation. Luckily for these guys, none of these guys got hurt, but this was a star-studded affair at WrestleMania 24 with names like Chris Jericho, Mr. Kennedy, Carlito, CM Punk, Shelton Benjamin, and John Morrison, as well as MVP in there. This was an awesome, awesome match. I mean, there was just spots that just kept on hitting each other, one after another. So many times these matches are worked out in the back so well that it's a spot fest. But to me, every move turned into another move, which turned into another move. It was just crazy. At one point, Morrison climbed up to the top turnbuckle and he did a moonsault while holding a ladder, crashing through everybody down there on the floor, catching him while he was down there. And that's just... to go up there and perform a moonsault, and trust all those guys down there to catch you is one thing, but to do it while you're holding a ladder, to me, is just beyond crazy. There was a spot in there where Kennedy and Morrison, they were battling over the ladder, and Shelton Benjamin climbed on top of another ladder, which he jumped out there and he did a sunset flip powerbomb on Mr. Kennedy, which basically threw Morrison off of the ladder as well. Just everybody was just bumping crazy all over the ring. At one point, MVP looked like he had this thing in the bag. He was the guy that I picked to win this deal, but MVP climbed to the top. The feud with Matt Hardy never really found a finish because one guy got injured, and then when that guy got healthy, the other guy got injured, and it was just a horrible situation. Matt Hardy climbed up to the top, making his return, delivering the twist of fate on MVP, sending him down, making sure that he wasn't going to win the Money in the Bank, and it set up for an awesome return of Matt Hardy coming back. But it was CM Punk and Chris Jericho fighting all the way up to the top of the briefcase. Finally, at one point, Punk trapped Jericho's leg in one of the ladder steps, and he was able to climb up to the top and retrieve the briefcase. This was, CM Punk's first of 2 Money in the Bank wins, which he cashed in to become, the World Heavyweight Champion on Monday Night Raw, which was an awesome feeling moment, but it sort of set off on a bad title run that nobody really wants to remember. But that's my top 5. Hopefully you guys have your own top 5. You make your own video responses and send them on out. Peace out, everybody.